Welcome to the Guitar Builders Collective Chat, audio and visual podcast, a weekly discussion about all things guitar building and some random tangents as well, featuring members of the Guitar Builders Collective from all around the world. The Guitar Builders Collective is a like-minded group of individuals that have come together to share their experiences, knowledge, and inspiration for guitar building. Each week you can join us in the live YouTube chat or catch up at a later point. It's also available as audio where you'll miss out on seeing our lovely faces and some of the visuals we share along the way. You can also find the Guitar Builders Collective via our forum, over on Instagram where we share images of members' builds. We've got a thriving Facebook group, and we do hope that no matter what your experience and knowledge is, you'll become a welcome. Oh, cut that off. Hello, everyone.
Hi there. Good evening.
Hello. So anyone that's watching on YouTube, you can see all our lovely faces. But as some people are listening on audio, I'll do a little intro of who's here. We've got quite a full house today. So we've got, as normal, on Thursdays when we're with our non-Australian team, we've got Mark next to us, Mark Gutierrez.
Hello.
Dave from Footstep Guitars. Scott from Bonehead Guitars. A token Australian. Is that right to call you that? Arran at the bottom.
That's fine, yep. How you going?
And then we've got two guests. Now, one of them's been on before, but Mark is part of Pherotone Studios. This time we've got Mark and Steve from Pherotone Studios on.
Hello.
Hi, Mark, Steve.
Morning, afternoon, whatever.
Yeah, we're all around the world. There's some people in the live chat that are in Australia, Canada, UK at the moment. So listen, I would normally at the beginning give you a little bit of exciting information that I've got about the podcast, but I'm going to save that till later because Mark and Steve are only with us for about an hour. Right, there we go.
That was a quick cutout tonight.
Yeah. That was our early cutout that happens when someone drops out, it throws us all out. So the exciting news was nothing to do with an improvement on our technology. Yeah, so just to let you know the sort of things we're probably going to talk about, we'll find out a bit more about Pherotone Studios and Steve. I've got a link in the video and the audio description to the last time Mark was on, so you can go listen to a full hour or so of just focusing on him. But we're definitely, one of the reasons we wanted to get people like Mark and Steve on is they review guitars, they play lots of guitars. I've seen them at guitar shows. So we want to really think about guitar design when it comes out of factories, and you're both used to playing loads of guitars and talking about them in depth. I want to find out what it's like to review guitars on YouTube as well. But also just off air, we're talking a bit about Tellers and Strandberg design and the nuances of them and what makes them good or bad. So I'm sure we'll get into that as well. But a quick question to start with, which is, Mark and Steve, how did you know each other? How did you get together both for the show, and also I think you play in a band? Is that right?
Yeah. Steve, do you want to tell the story of how we met? This will go on for a while.
Yeah, I'll make it longer than Mark's version would have been. So we went to school together. So we've known each other since we were really young, and then Mark went off to a different school, and then we didn't see each other for probably about 10 years. And then I was working in a pub, and Mark came in and saw I was wearing a Soulfly t-shirt. And he went, and he spoke to a mutual friend of ours and found out that I played guitar. And he went, "Do you want to join our band as a bassist?" And I was like, "Okay, I've never played bass." So then...
Still don't.
Yeah, exactly. So we ended up, I went and joined the band. And since then, we've basically spent quite a lot of time together. And yeah, then when he started the YouTube thing, I think you were doing YouTube for probably about a year before I sort of joined in and started doing some of the videos.
Oh yeah, it started with our songs. I was like, okay, we'll do our songs. And after like a couple of videos, I was like, I'm going to run out of songs. So started doing covers and then started getting copyright strikes. I was like, oh, well, I can't do this. We better do something else. And then, yeah, soundproofing the shed videos when I built this. This is how it started. Because I didn't intend to, I'm going to say be a YouTuber, but we're not really YouTubers. And then, ended up doing guitar reviews and stuff, which leads into what you've already asked, skillful. So should I go into that now, or should we save that for the...
I do have a question which I can really relate to with Steve. How does it feel when someone finds out you play guitar and they ask you to play bass in a band? Because that happened to me, and it changed my life because I much prefer playing bass now.
Yeah, I went through the same. I've sort of gone up and down with bass and guitar, so I'd never played bass at that point.
Let me stop you there. Steve never practices bass. He plays guitar all the time. Like, he's never once sent me any video playing bass. Can you mute him? He's just talking nonsense. Look, guitar's in the background. He has like one bass. I don't think you even own a strap for it. You've never owned a bass amp.
No, he's
a guitarist.
I've got a few basses. Yeah, when I joined the band, I'd never played bass. Joined the band, and for about 5 years, all I could hear when listening to music was the bass. I don't know why, it just changed the way I heard music, and I just played bass in the band, barely played guitar. And then after that, I think it was actually for quite a while after when went into lockdown, I bought an electric guitar, which was my first actual electric guitar, other than one that I got. It was one of those like £100 ones that no one ever plays. And that got me back into guitar heavily. And as Mark says, I barely practice bass ever. But I love playing bass more in the band setting rather than on my own at home. I'd much rather play guitar for that. But yeah, as I felt, I didn't feel like I was being asked something that I didn't want to do, because I was just happy to join in a band really and play music, because I hadn't done anything with anyone else before.
We should just get Daniel in the band.
Yeah.
But you know what? I had the same thing as you. I listening to the music that I used to listen to, suddenly from the point of view of a bass player, you hear different things in it. And the same sort of happened as I got more into effects and things. I kind of listened to the sounds of the guitars, and all of these things sort of change the music in some way, or add a new layer to it, or sometimes a layer of disappointment when you're listening. And particularly, I was listening to some Stones the other day, and their guitar sounds are terrible, but they work so well. It kind of mixed together, which is just the thing, really.
This is what I've always said to Steve. If you've got a good rhythm section, you can play nothing on these four then. You can play hardly anything on the guitar and get away with it. Unfortunately, we don't have a good rhythm section.
No.
I let the drummer know.
Oh, he's hopeless.
So let's go back to what you were just saying then about the starting to review guitars. How does that? Because there's a number of channels that do it, and everyone does it a bit differently. And I think there's something about having two people there chatting about it, which adds another layer to me.
We're normally drunk. That was always our thing. We'd always be drinking, and we'd shoot a few videos. And by the last one, sometimes I was hammered. So I think that was our thing to begin with. We don't drink as much now, but I don't know. We for the first few years we had to just buy everything. But we've both got spending problems with guitars anyway. I imagine all of you are the same. So it's like, well, I want to try this, this, and this. And if we do a video on it, and just did every guitar we'd ever wanted, have to buy and sell them, because running YouTube it's not very cost effective. It's a terrible business. So just used to anything we bought or could get our hands on, and then eventually got sent a few things, which is a lot nicer. We've worked with quite a few brands now, haven't we, Steve? Like vintage guitars, they're quite good. They've got a really cool custom shop. I don't know if you know vintage guitars. They do like your standard guitars, your Strat copies and your Tele copies and all the rest of it. But they also have a custom shop, and you can get nitro finishes, what you want, but made in the Far East, I think. So you can get a nitro finished guitar with great pickups for under $1,000. I'm like, it's pretty cool. Obviously, Chapman Guitars we work with. I don't know. I'm not trying to name drop. Just can't remember who else we work with. Oh yeah. But obviously, Fender and Gibson are never going to care, so we just have to buy our Fenders and Gibsons and then sell them, or do videos on Fenders and go, why isn't it as good as it should be for this money? So Fender will probably never work with us.
That's definitely a question I want to get onto about why things aren't that good. But just quickly, does that mean when you sort of implied if someone's sending you a guitar, it's different if you're buying it with what you can say, or do you not feel that?
We've only had it once, and where they were like, can you edit this bit out? I was like, no, I don't think we're going to work together very long.
I wouldn't want to do one if they were trying to tell us we could or couldn't say something, because I would never want it to be fake when it comes across in a video. I'd just say no. Or if it came in and didn't like it, as with the shape of the Strandberg that we reviewed, and a couple of bits about it that I didn't like, but when actually you get to playing it, it's an amazing guitar.
Oh yeah, we'll pull out what's good about it and what's not good about it, in every video. But I kind of feel like people approach us knowing that we would say, you know, it's under £200. It's going to need new tuners, new pickups, and a setup. But the problem is when you do 50 videos like that, you're like, oh, just saying the same thing in every video. That gets boring. There's a lot of guitars in the sub £500 price bracket. Like, I've stopped doing mod videos on it now because you're like, okay, well, it's going to be tuners, pickups, a setup, and it's like, oh, I've just done it on a different shaped guitar. It's getting boring for me and everyone watching. But if we get a Center guitar in that price range, that's what it needs. Unless it's not that. There was a guitar we did. It was vintage guitars again, one of their Revo ones, and they sent it, and it's like an offset thing. It wasn't really my thing, but I was like, I would do a video on it anyway. You know, they've sent it to us, and it had like 60 combinations of sounds, like the Jazz Master you showed us earlier. It just did everything really well, and it felt brilliant. And we were contacting them afterwards, like, we're not giving this back. It's a vintage Revo Integra from, I don't know how much they are, £500 or something. And they'd sent us their like X display, one of the one that was on all the stands. You know, sometimes you're caught off guard by a guitar that is just amazing and 500 quid. And with inflation at the moment, like a few years ago, you'd get a guitar for 500 quid and it'd be decent. You get a guitar for 500 quid now, and it's basically, you know, a bit of wood barely finished, because £500 doesn't get you anything anymore. But it's £1,000 for a half decent instrument now. So
look, that's sort of one of the reasons I really wanted to get more people that are players and do reviews and have basically had hands-on experience with lots of guitars, is to be able to ask the question that connects to that guitar you just said for £500. What made that guitar so good then? What is it? Is it just the sound? Is it something about the playability or the quality of the build?
One for you, Steve, isn't it? It's your guitar now.
Yeah, for me, I had actually seen that guitar probably one of the previous shows. So I think it might have been at the Birmingham Guitar Show, and I just liked the look of it. It was a bit of a weird looking one as well, so I'm not sure why I liked it. But then Mark just called me out of the blue and said, "Oh, I'm getting one of the guitars, and it's this one." I was like, "Oh, that's brilliant! Like, we'll try it out." And it was all satin, which is one thing that we both are a fan of. So there's no glossy neck, which that's my biggest pet peeve on a guitar. Like, and this is another reason why I think it works well with having a couple of us reviewing the guitars, because I've always, for whatever reason, only liked satin necks. Mark had never really cared until I pointed it out, and since then it's been like, oh yeah, I need satin neck and everything now. And it's the same with the body, where your arms touching the body, it feels nice, so it just has a nicer feel when you're playing. But that particular guitar, the pickups were amazing. I think they're Allen Entwistle ones, right?
Yeah, they were humbuckers as well, but they split and sounded good split, which is, a lot of people can't hear the difference between a single coil and a split humbucker, whereas I'm like, they just all sound crap. Yeah. Whereas this one, we split it and I was like, oh.
And I think that's another point of money versus what you get, because you can get amazing sounding pickups that are cheaper than you would expect them to be, but they might not have the brand that you associate with a really good pickup. So I think that's a lot of it for people. Like, if you buy a guitar and it's got some Seymour Duncans in it, that adds another couple of £100. Yeah. But we've played so many pickups now, particularly with like Tone Riders, the Allen Entwistle ones, some other ones that I can't even remember, where they sound really good and they're under £100, under around £50. And that really adds, when you're playing a guitar that feels nice, if it sounds good as well, what else do you want?
Yeah, 100%. I was going to say that, as well as the guitar reviews, and obviously we haven't mentioned yet, but you do loads of modding things. You also do the pickup reviews when you're doing your mods to them. And you definitely got me into using Tone Riders. So yeah, I bought a set up, you recommended them, and they are, I think my set for my Fender, my Strat, was under £100, and they sound amazing.
Which set, sorry?
It was the, I can't remember what it's called, but it was more, yeah, it wasn't a vintage one. It wasn't a vintage one. I think they've got 3, have they? I'll look it up in a minute while we're talking.
This one here's got the Tone Rider Alnico 4s in it, and they are currently my favourite pickups.
And like £90, you're like,
yeah.
And I think there's something that when you are watching people review and they're doing lots, like I get this with Henning Pauly. I've watched so many of his videos that I feel that when he's talking and describing something, I can trust what he's saying and I can relate it to what I like as well, and what I don't like. Not that we like and don't like the same things, but from getting used to him talking so much about so many things, the same with you, I can sort of get this idea that if you're saying something sounds like this or has this element to it, I'm going to understand what that is before I actually buy it. And that's what happened with the Tone Riders. You were talking about what you liked about them, and that's what I liked.
Well, the reason we went into that whole thing is we played, I think it was an Epiphone and a Les Paul. This is early on. You'll remember this, Steve. Played Epiphone and Les Paul, and the Gibson just blew away the Epiphone. We're like, okay, well, they're both humbuckers. What's the difference? So I was like, okay, well, we'll take it all apart and see. And you start seeing the components are different. So I was like, then we started doing tone tests and going, okay, what part of that makes it sound different? So if the cover on a humbucker, if it's brass, this is something to do with eddy currents, I can't remember. I've had breakfast with Andrew from Tone Rider, and he goes through all this stuff. But in simple terms, if it's brass, it just sounds muffled. And brass is half the price. So on a cheap pickup, they can put brass on it, makes it sound crap. But you put nickel on it, it sounds brilliant. So, okay, what about the base plate? Not as much of a difference. In fact, people have left comments saying, oh, you can't hear it with this a theory that's been proven. And I'm like, well, I've been in the room and done videos where I can hear it. But also, there's a big difference between what, like, if you're are listening for a sound, you'll be able to hear something. And like I said earlier, some people can't tell the difference between a split humbucker and a single coil. Their just ears aren't developed. That's fine if you're playing in your bedroom. But when you're live and you cannot cut through the mix because your humbuckers have got a brass cover, and you're like, oh, I'm going to crank the treble on the amp, doesn't sound the same as just having a bright pickup. It's always better to have your audio sound and then remove bits rather than put something in that isn't there. So that's why we took everything apart and went, right, what is it that makes a difference? And one thing we did recently from all these pickups we'd tried over the years, knew nothing about pickups, was I put a spec list together of what all the bits were. And there was such an obvious pattern of what we liked and what we didn't like. Like hot pickups. I was like, okay, why don't we like hot pickups? The more winds you add on, they lose the high end. And again, which is fine in your bedroom because you can sort of compensate for that. But when you're with a band, and we rehearse like we're going to do a gig, not that we have a gig, but if you can't create, you're playing halfway through a song and you can't get that high end because you can't just stop playing halfway through a song and tweak something on your amp. You might be able to click a pedal on and maybe treble boost, but that will add volume. You haven't got it. So you want to be able to make it cut through. Otherwise, the guitar's not there. You can't hear it, and it's awkward. So we try and go from that perspective and just dismantle everything, work out what it is, and do boring videos on different parts of pickups that no one watches, but it sort of proves that we have the knowledge and we can refer to it. And then you come across brands like Tone Rider who they've just done it for £100. You're like, well, buy a set of Tone Riders.
I put a set of Tone Riders on a Strat and did it so that I can do a split pickup. You're absolutely right. You can hear it. The thing I found was they were much brighter than the other pickups on the other guitars I've got. Is that essentially what it is?
I bet it's the nickel. I bet if you've got pickups and the other ones that are brass covered. I mean, if you've got an uncovered humbucker, buy a brass cover and a nickel cover, and make it so that you can not have to unsolder it and change the height, because that will change everything. But just pop the cover off if you can in some kind of guitar and change the cover on. It's such a difference. I mean, uncovered is the best, but if you've got a brass cover, there's no treble. It just kills it.
Amazing.
Interesting. Maybe we need to get him on. Tone Rider. It was City Limits, the ones that I was using. But
Andrew would be interested. Well, I say interesting if you're a geek, but he can probably translate it into like understandable words. But he understands. He's a real stickler for detail. I've learned a lot. But I speak to all of them. Bare knuckle Monties. So why?
The last stream of each month, we have a slightly different timing, so we can get some people from Australia and New Zealand in, and we have Glyn from Glyn's pickup song. And last week we had Joe from Hello Sailor, and
love Joe.
Some geeky chat then, which I was quite enjoying. I like not that I can necessarily keep up with everything, but one of the things I think you've mentioned this to me before, Mark, is this is sort of like an archive of people can dive in and out and delve in and out and find out some things about guitars and guitar making. Hopefully it'll be a lot of reasons to learn things from as well,
and come back and watch these videos later, because if people watched Joe's video and didn't understand it the first time, come back in a year when you've learned loads more and they go back to you, I understand 20% more of what he's talking about now. He's very, very good at what he does. He initially didn't want to work with us. Oh, he's here. I hate Joe. Can't stand him. Horrible guy. His products are rubbish. He's thick. He's from the north of England, so I can't understand a word he's saying. Yeah, Joe's great. We met Joe because Kossoff Drive, which he was talking about on I was watching last week's one, the Kossoff Drive. I wanted one of those, and I messaged him and said, mate, we've got a YouTube channel. Can you send us one? And he said no. I was like, I'm not having this. So we started taking the piss out of him. I'd put on a wig and pretend to call him with all these pedal designs. And after a couple of those videos, he's like, mate, these are cracking me up. I'll send you some stuff. And we've obviously since met him. And every time we get a video, we get one of his pedals from him. We try it out. And annoyingly, I don't want any, like Steve, you just got, I don't know if any of you have a really good amp. When you get a really good amp, I find that you use drive pedals less, maybe more boosts because it pushes the amp in different ways and sounds sexier. But we've got both Victory jacks, which sound so good without pedals. So I'm like, well, I'll have no drive pedals because I don't need them. And every time Joe sends one, I'm like, that's another pedal I've got to put on my board. And I've had to change my board about 3 times because of him. And now I've bought an expanding pedal. D'Addario, go on Amazon, everyone, and buy a D'Addario expanding pedal board in case you ever beat Joe. Because then every time you get a pedal from him, you can go, okay, well, I can expand it rather than going, I've got to spend another £100 and retape and a new power supply. He's a nightmare.
Yeah, no, I've got to say that as a teenager, when I was learning to play, I had no idea really the differences in having a really good big amp and my little practice amp in my bedroom. And obviously YouTube now helps you understand all of these things.
Oh, you can see it in the comments when we do some of these things, people they can't hear the difference. And when your ear matures, when you actually listen, it matters. And people are like, well, just do this. And I'm like, oh, come on, man.
I think part of that might also be the way that people listen to the videos, because if you're listening to it on your iPhone, you're not hear anything. Like, you can't hear any low ends. The high end sounds crap. So if you have proper monitors or speakers or headphones or whatever and everyone's equipment's going to be different anyway, so it would hear slightly different things. So it's never going to be the same as being in the room with something, but you can definitely tell there is a lot more of a difference when you've got more high quality components to everything.
Oh yeah, and YouTube ruins the sound a little bit. I've done comparisons. You've heard it in the room, made a decision. I've edited it so you've got the raw sound and gone probably the same decision, and then listened to it back through YouTube and gone, well, it sounds all right. But then on TikTok, I was like, I don't agree. It sounds different on TikTok because their compression's different. This is when you go into mastering and loudness, which is a good podcast from, I can't remember what it's called, Ian something, the mastering show, I think it's called. Every platform sounds a bit different because they compress it differently. So if you're listening on the internet, especially through a phone, you may as well throw it in the bath and listen through water. It's pointless.
Yeah. Hey, look, I want to get on to talking about guitar designs, but while we're on the electronics and pickups, as you're playing live, I'm getting the impression, because I haven't asked you what sort of music you play, but bear in mind that you mentioned, Steve, that you're wearing a Soulfly top. Yeah. Is your band quite a heavy band?
No, we were both into some pretty heavy music early on in our lives, along with the drummer as well, who is actually Mark's cousin. But the band has always been, started off quite soft rocky pop, and it sort of developed into a bit more of a, I don't know if experimental was the right word, but it's definitely a lot more different from how it started off. But yeah, we've got a couple of heavy-ish songs, but nothing Soulfly-like.
What's the band called?
The Pony Never Stops.
Ah, right. So I wasn't sure if that was a band page or your own page, Steve. Right.
Yeah, it's just me running that, but yeah, right. So that's the band name.
There's a link to that in the description already. Because one thing we talked about is we can put all these pickups in, split coils, etc., etc. And one thing we've been talking about for a number of weeks now is when you're playing live, do you really just need a volume? Do you just need a bridge pickup and a volume? Or Mark says he likes the neck pickup.
Oh yeah.
So it's do you need all those options?
Yeah, get rid of the bridge pickup. So this is another one of my things. Don't get me wrong, I love the bridge pickup, but normally when I'm doing heavier stuff, if I'm doing rhythm, especially clean, I'm on the neck. Even with all the Esquire stuff, I don't fully like it. But you can also tell from the comments, people that have only ever played sitting down, you're like, you've never played a guitar standing up. Some of the comments are hilarious. But also some guitarists, sorry if there's any of you, have never played on the neck pickup. So I'm like, even if you've got a dark bridge pickup, you can get away with it because the bridge is so much brighter anyway. So it sort of doesn't matter as much with your we don't care as much about bridge pickups. You hardly ever find a bad sounding one unless there's something weird or you're doing something stupid. With the neck, you can tell a lot more. So if you play the bridge, just leave the pickups, to be honest. Is that any of you? Only the bridge. Try the neck, you'll love it.
No, I love the neck, so I'm on your. Yeah.
But you don't like treble bleeds, so.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So while we're on this, let's talk about treble bleeds because so I Ben from Marstronics. By the way, if you don't know, new episode of Luther's Lunch Break is out, and Marstronics has supported that. And actually, Mark and Steve were on an episode once. They did a little segment for me where they're talking about things that they really like in guitars. You talked about nitro finishes and stuff. We'll get onto that in a bit. But yeah, so Marstronic make this treble bleed that I've been using a lot. And one reason I like it is it's easy for me to test out all the different setups I can possibly have on it when I'm using it. And last week or the week before, we were talking about treble bleeds, and Mark Gutierrez was saying that he doesn't, he's not a big fan of them for reasons that all make sense to me as well. But I still like them. And you're definitely Mark from Pherotone.
I'm all for a treble bleed. Yeah, but again, I'm mostly neck pickup. I don't really do anything fancy. I'm like rhythm. I don't want to show off. And I find if I roll the volume down, because I use a lot of guitarists don't use the volume knob. You have to remember that. You can tell that from the comments. If you roll it down, the sound changes. And if you lose that high end and you're playing live, that's when a treble bleed's good. On the bridge, I've never had it on the bridge as much, weirdly. You generally have enough treble on the bridge to not care, or too much, and then you can turn the tone up. You might have the tone down. Again, people, anyone listening, there's a tone knob and a volume knob. They're amazing what they do turning those. Oh, here we go. Joe's piped up again.
Yeah, well, there's been a bit of discussion as well about this idea of if you have the wiring, Joe from Hello Sailor saying 50 style, where the tone is after the volume, then you don't have that.
Yeah, I've tried that. I didn't find it as... It works a bit, but I didn't find it was quite what I wanted. I just find a treble bleed. So, and what's the good thing about Ben's treble bleed from Marstronic? It's 20 quid. You don't even have to solder if you don't want to. You can just clip it in. So I would solder it in because I'm like that. But if you don't know anything about soldering and don't want to, if you've got a really expensive guitar and you're worried, clip it in. It gives you the clips to do it. And then if you think, it's not quite right, you can adjust it. Whereas other treble bleeds, which I'm fine with as well, you put in, you go, it's a bit too much treble that stays. And you have to unsolder it or change the resistor and figure out stuff. With his, you get a little screwdriver and just tweak it. I'd put it in everything, absolutely everything. And it's 20 quid. Like, who cares? Unless you don't like treble bleeds, but then you'd be wrong.
So the big question for me is then, why have we got a tone? Why have a tone knob?
Well, sometimes it's too bright. You'd be in some kind of room, or everything sounds different on the stage. I don't know. I quite like a valve amp. They sound different in different rooms, but I'm getting more into using a pedal board, like one of those digital rigs live. I still would rather have a valve amp, but if you turn up with those little rigs, it's a tiny little amount of gear.
Well, this kind of puts an exclamation point on 2 weeks ago, the last one I was on, talk myself into the fact that, I'm a caveman, but I see no need for the volume or the tone. and decided I needed to put a humbucker and a single coil both on the bridge, and that was just going to be it.
Do you play live, or is it just at home?
No.
Yes, it's more of a live thing, and because we practice like it's live, so we're like, okay, if it is.
No, it's been a very long time since I got to play live, and these days it's all bedroom rig with stupid little 10, 15 watt amp and a bunch of pedals.
It's nice you can do that now. Like it used to when I started all this. Like Steve, you'll remember our first studio, full stacks and the biggest, most powerful amp you could get. Otherwise, no one could hear it. But now you can have this silly little thing, and you don't break your back. And when you carry it home at 3 a.m, you're not smashing your car and your house.
You're ear ringing because everything's on 10.
Yeah, well, when I was gigging, I had a PV 5150 head, and those weigh about the same as a Volkswagen, and a 412 cabinet. Dragging this around the bars, it was retarded. But and the idiocy of my caveman ways, I'm chasing tone, and it's a bedroom rig.
Well, you still got to do it. It sort of drives it. So I'm seeing all the people commenting mangled guitars. There's some big names in the chat. Joe from Hello Sailor, no one cares about him, but there's some proper people.
We'll have to get you on with him one day.
Oh, it'll be. I'd be struggling not to swear because we'd have a right laugh. He's hilarious, and yeah,
we'd sit back. Maybe we'll get Corey in from Australia, and then the swearing's allowed when he's on. He does it actually, really. But there you go. Hey, so
talking
look,
about Strandbergs.
yeah, I just want to say then, what I'm thinking is there's so much you can change on a guitar electronics wise, and people talk about it all the time, everywhere. Change pickups, doing all of these treble bleeds and stuff. But everyone still buys a telly, you know. People still like their standard things. So Strandberg is a difference. But I did want to talk about the. There we go. You're playing all of these different companies' guitars and things. Are you noticing with more modern guitars there's a sort of trend of things that people are doing more often?
Yeah, they're really boring.
Like, is that it? They've all
got a C-shaped neck, and it's getting more and more. The bar has risen massively. I also think Chapman guitars have changed the industry a lot. I know I'm quite a big fan, but like stainless steel frets used to be on high-end stuff, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to put that on, mid-range stuff," and that's come in the market. Same with roasted maple. That was sort of high-end thing, and now it's on. I mean, you can get it on like £100 Harley Benton with roasted maple now. And the other thing they did was rolled fretboards, which is just so nice. And now everyone's doing that. So I think, I don't know, the sub 500 range is a bit of a challenge because everything is a bit, what can you do for under £500 now?
I think
got too expensive.
The brands that aren't the big, Gibson and Fender that are making guitars around that price range are making them to the best of their ability. And we've definitely noticed when we get something in like the Fender range around that, they're good, but the other ones are actually a nicer guitar to play. Like for an example from me, I've got a double humbucker Fender. It's not that one, is it? No, it's the Fender Player Series, and I really loved it. But one of the things for me is that the neck needs to feel right, and it had the sharpest fretboard that I've ever had, and I was thinking, when I'm buying a Fender, I want that to be playable and nice. So I had to roll it myself. And it's a really nice guitar, but I've got that same thing with a Chapman. Even a Harley Benton I've got, which cost me about 150 quid, had a much nicer neck.
And the frets are finished properly.
Yeah. And all we did for that Harley Benton was put in a set of, funnily enough, Fender Fat 50s. And that guitar is amazing. And it's just a bulk standard Harley Benton piece of crap basically, but everything felt nice and plays nice, and just swapped out those pickups and it's great.
Oh, this is what Lee Anderton says. Like with some of these cheaper guitars, if they do a good setup, like this is what Chapman tried to do, tried to specify to the shops, you have to set it up. This is why we're giving to you a cheaper rate. But the shops went, whatever, we'll just send it out as it arrives. And of course, it's flown from Indonesia or wherever, and it's gone all fucking weird. Sorry, it's gone all weird in that transport. But it's in their contract that they should have set it up, and that sort of didn't help Chapman. But PRS do that as well. And Lise was saying when we were last in the shop, if you spend the time setting up a guitar properly, it's mostly in the feel. Like a bit of wood's a bit of wood, but if it's set up properly, it will feel brilliant. Obviously, it could sound crap.
But most players don't know. They don't know that it needs a setup, much less how to do a setup.
Yeah.
So you put a guitar in their hands that isn't set up, and I mean, it's going to sound like shit. It's going to feel like shit.
We did I did a tour on a 12-string. Do you remember this, Steve? And I went to play that afterwards, and the action was like, I have no idea how I barred chords or did anything on this 12-string night after night. It was unplayably bad, but it was like you just said. I had no idea at the time. This is years ago. I was like, this is great. I've got this cool-looking 12-string, horrible to play, but I was like, it's fun. I'll just play it every night like an idiot. And then years later, I went back to it. I was like, what is this? This is firewood.
Well, one of the most important things to playability and feel is a good setup.
Completely, yeah.
You've got touch points, your fret ends, fretboard. The neck shape is massive. Those things help, but I mean, a setup will go so far.
Oh, it does. Yeah, on a cheap guitar, spend 60 quid on a setup, and you've got. When we do like mod in like your Harley Benton, Steve, I think it was about 120 quid, but it felt all right. And then we put a set of Fender Fat 50 custom shop pickups in, which are like, I don't know, £200 or something.
Yeah, more expensive than the guitar.
Yeah, and everyone's going, why don't you just buy a Fender? I'm like, well, because we've bought a Fender and the frets are terrible. The pickups are all right, you know, the pickups are okay, but the fret ends, it's like they just cut them with an axe and went, oh, that'll do. It says Fender on it. People see the Fender and go, oh, the Fender just became lazy. The fretboard's so square. You're like, how have you made it squarer than a square bit of wood? It's like, it's unbelievable. And also, people forget that you don't have to do all these mods we show in videos. You're like, okay, you could, you know, just save up, do the pickups 1 month, and then a couple of months later, maybe do the tuners, or when they break, or never at all. You know, you don't have to go. We go to town and do everything. But the comments are like, oh, why would you do it on a cheap guitar? A cheap guitar can feel better than a Fender. I think that's my pink telly over there. You know, it's a proper Fender neck. But I had to roll the fretboard, do the frets. It's got Fender pickups, which sound great. But I made the body and sprayed it with nitro because I bought the sort of, you know, player range Fenders. Good guitars, really good guitars, but nothing like that. That's the best telly I've ever played. And it says Fender, but they didn't make it. But you can get Harley Benton now that's mostly good. Some are a bit hit and miss, but like you say, a setup. But also, like you say, some people don't know. So we just thought, no, it plays fine. You're like, does it though?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I know this about Fender, but we had Andrew Knight, who's a designer at Jackson Guitars, Jackson Charvel, and we were talking about factories, and he was saying in Indonesia they can definitely do high spec, but it's what you pay them for their time. So what they can achieve in their time. So some guitars are definitely cheaper because you're paying less to achieve less, but that doesn't necessarily equate. If you pay them more, they can do more, and some of those cheaper brands are paying them more, and maybe some of the expensive brands are paying them less because they know that the logo on the headstock's what's going to sell it.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, these companies are not dumb. Like Fender's not dumb. They've done all the market research and analysis, right? They know that their logo is what's going to sell that guitar. They know that no one's going to complain about the lackluster setup. They know this, right? And they're going to still sell millions and millions of these guitars.
Well, yeah, a Fender telly. I don't know if it's the same in America. It's probably more sensible prices. But a Fender telly here, top of the range one, £2,000. Gibson Les Paul, maybe 2,200. You can pick them up for $2,000. New this is. Now, your guitar makers making a Les Paul is a lot of work. That's a proper piece of art. Making a telly is 15 minutes and you've got a guitar. How are they the same price? One's finished in nitrocellulose, and if you sprayed nitro, you know, you've got to leave it hanging around for 4.5 years for it to dry and spray 5 million coats. Whereas the poly finish on a $2,000 telly, you could do it in 10 seconds and put it in the shop. You know, you could just spray it and walk straight to the shop and go, oh, buy that.
How many Les Pauls you got, mate?
It doesn't matter how many Les Pauls you have, Steve. Les Pauls are just the greatest instrument known to mankind. It's not about it. I find you don't even need to own a Les Paul to know that they're the best Les Paul ever. And I like to, you know, sell Les Pauls as often as I buy them, but they are the greatest without a doubt. I don't have any in here or in my house, but they're like a masterpiece compared to a telly. I'm not saying a telly is bad, but it's not £2,000. And like you say, Fender, it's just Fender. People are like, oh, I'm buying that. It's just Fender on it. But 5 years ago, when tellies weren't cool, they were like £300 for a US one, or 500 new.
I can agree. That pink one that you've made is one of the nicest playing tellies I've ever played, and that's basically you bought a Fender neck, which is probably what, 250, 300, something like that.
Yeah.
And the body was like £20 and a bit of nitro. Like, that is amazing, and that's an amazing guitar that you can build yourself by buying a few bits and doing it yourself. Whereas to buy that, to feel that good and sound that good with those pickups, is probably going to be one of those £1,600 to.
And with Fender, because we know some of the brands that work in the same factories, they're not. They do some underhand stuff. They're arseholes. Whereas, you know, there's other brands that are a bit more. Although saying that, Charvel and Jackson, they're part of Fender, aren't they? I'm sure Charvel definitely are, which means Jackson probably are as well. Like, they're all owned by about 4 actual brands mostly, but I think some run things better. But what I like about Chapman, sorry to keep going on about Chapman, whenever their factory isn't doing it to their standard, they go to another factory. They're like, no, we want it better for our people. Maybe other brands do that, but don't announce it. But Chapman do it to make the guitar better, not to make the cost more effective. They're like, no, we just want the best guitar. I don't know, there's a few other brands.
Well, I mean, Fender's always been lazy, and the entire design of the thing is built around, you know, ease of manufacture. It's not around what makes the best instrument. It's the name, but I still want a Fender. You know, it doesn't matter how crap it is. I still want one. I still own them.
It's like Fender has the might of all these artists, right? They have the visibility of all these celebrities, and that's not going to go away, right? So they're always going to have an edge over Harley Benton, always, or Chapman.
And even though I'm playing other guitars, I'll play a Harley Benton and a Chapman and whatever on the headstock, but I'm building one at the moment, and I want the headstock to say Fender on it.
Yeah, you want it to. You want it to say that. You want it to say Gibson.
Even though we're going to have to fix the neck. So.
You see, as someone that's now more aware of the boutique world, I don't want that anymore. I want to have a guitar that's got a logo on it that no one's heard of because it's a unique to me thing, or, you know, a small builder type of thing. And I know that the quality of small builders is going to be much higher especially for the value. Well, maybe I don't know what we're talking about the price there, but it's going to be much higher quality than something you can get from a factory normally.
Yeah, and the builders, you know, the bespoke stuff is often, you know, if it's between $2,000 and $3,000, which is a lot, but you know, it's only the price of a top of the range, like a Gibson standard. It's not far off. Yeah. Or do we just lose someone? Is this all going to cut out?
It might all cut out. Hey, look, off air. We were just oh, damn it. Yes, predicted. I don't know why that happens, but there you go. So it's Fender. Fender know we're onto them. They're hacking our systems.
Yeah, but you know, like Mark says,
cheaply.
They also know people are going to pay it, no matter how crap the guitar is. It says Fender on it. You're going to buy one, and I'm going to buy one as well. And I know what they could do, and I know they're lazy, but I'm still going to buy a Fender. What an idiot!
Can I ask something then? When you do your reviews on guitars, do you get any idea of which guitars get the most views in terms of your YouTube? Is it the things like the Fenders or the boutiques?
Oh yeah, if you do a Fender player video, the cheap Fenders, we've done a $9,000 Fender. People want to watch that video just to say, "Oh, I wouldn't spend $9,000 on a Fender." I mean, it's an amazing Fender. You know, it's a master build. But if you do a Fender player video, people are going to watch it because it's, you know, £800. I'm going to say anyone can afford it. I mean, everything's on finance now. Yeah, anyone can get a Fender player. It might be so boringly average, but it's also, you know, it says Fender on it. It's a good guitar. That'll get the views. Whereas if we do, I love the guys. Is it Valiant or Valent, Steve?
Yeah, Valiant.
Yeah, they're brilliant, and we could talk to them. But I'm like, if I do a video, no one's going to watch it, and it's not because their guitars are brilliant, but no one's good. Especially with my channel, it's going to get like 4 views. And I feel like I've wasted their time. People
are watching it for research before they buy, basically.
Yeah, and for reassurance after they've bought something. And with Fender, that's easy because everyone's bought a Fender. So,
hey, listen, look, I know we've only got you for a little bit of time. So, if you don't mind, do you mind if I play one of your videos without the sound on in the background while we talk about the Strandbergs?
Depends which one. What are we doing? Are we drinking pina colada in it?
Like a Chapman to make a Strandberg shape.
Oh, so that video, that one's doing really well.
Yeah, it's a brilliant video. Obviously, people listening on the audio won't know it. Go and find it on Pherotone.
Should we talk about Strandbergs while that's on then?
Yeah, 100%. Because we know from previous live streams, Scott spent ages designing guitar shapes, and then he discovered Strandberg had been somehow psychically copying him or something like that. But Mark was an early adopter of Strandbergs. We know that there's something about them that makes them special, but people are sort of resistant to them because of the way they look. And you took a Strat, basically, and changed it into a Strandberg.
I'm doing another one as well. In fact, I'm doing another 2.
Hey, Mark, on that note, like the Strandberg body shape didn't quite fit on the Strat, right?
No, it was close, but not super close. It's 90% of the way there. So we borrowed this Strandberg, and looking at it, it's horrible. But then you play it and you're like, oh, it's such a good guitar. But I equally, I think even if you don't like Strandbergs, buy one or borrow one and try it, because you'll be just amazed at how good it is. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to be seen with one live. I'll have to like stick a headstock on it and all sorts. But yeah, that's the Strat body. So I had this Chapman kit, and I was like, okay. And Rob had a go on this. He couldn't work out what we'd done. But yeah, it was a fun build, and it was one of those builds. I don't know if you've ever done this. One of you guys must have been making a guitar and gone, "Oh, that's ruined," and then you fixed it, and then the next 5 minutes you're like, "Oh, that's ruined," every 5 minutes I was like,
Yeah.
this is going to go on the fire. And then you'd recover from it and you'd be like, oh, this isn't even possible. You'd find a cavity hole inside and be like, oh no, where am I going to find a piece of wood? So I used some of the offcuts to reshape bits in. And then that's why I had the black border like a burst, just to hide all the dodgy joins where I'd filled in the old switch thing as well. And after I did it, because I put a 3-way telly switch on it, and I was like, why didn't I put a 3-way Gibson switch on it? It'd make far more sense. You know, I did some really stupid things just because I was trying to copy, you know, the Strandberg Bowden Essentials. But yeah, this worked out really, really well, and it's wonderful. There's also a video you've got to watch of Steve when he first tries the Strandberg Bowden. He, in fact, on Instagram, it's turned into a short of a minute of just Steve ranting and getting angrier and angrier. At the end, he's just like, "Yeah, but I really love it."
And look, to both of you, then, what is it that you love? What makes it good? What makes it special?
Steve,
I
you
think-
hate it the most. You do this.
As much as the shape angers me, it's more about the bridge being off the body of the guitar. I don't like a headless guitar, but the shape actually makes it the most comfortable thing. So you can have it at different angles, and because of the cutouts on the bottom bit, you can stick it on your leg. You can have it inside of your leg, so you can lay on the sofa on your back, and it's small enough that you can carry on playing it. And it was done well. And I mean, the neck shape on the back was weird, but also quite nice to play because it's got some, like, I don't know what shape you call it, almost like a triangle with the top cut off, which I don't think that's necessarily needed, but it's a cool design to have, and it doesn't feel uncomfortable. But everything about it was nice to play. So it was all smooth satin. The body was even satin as well. And yeah, that the ergonomics is what makes that guitar for me, physically rather than visually, because visually it's not my cup of tea. But when you're actually, if you close your eyes and play a guitar, it's amazing.
Yeah, totally. And but also making it like the top horn, you're like, okay, well, that's for balance. And then I was like, well, if I keep the headstock on it, it would look cooler. But then you find that it's too top heavy in neck dives, which is why it's, you know, if you move the rear material, you have to remove the top material. And that bottom curve bit, sort of on the bottom right of the screen now, well, that's where it rests on your leg. Every part of it has a reason. And
you actually improved on the shape of the headstock because you
really
kept
talented,
a little bit
mate.
extra on it.
Really
so
talented.
You can hang it in a guitar hanger.
Oh yeah, mine can hang up, and a real one you can't. So a Strandberg haven't called yet, but I imagine.
Yeah,
probably with a court case, won't it? And there'll be a cease and desist.
I think that was the one improvement I made. That I hadn't really found Strandberg. I mean, you'd kind of seen bits and pieces, but I hadn't thought much about it. I was just trying to find something ergonomic and came up basically reinventing Strandberg.
Mm-hmm.
But even with a headless, I mean, the important thing for me is, or at least the biggest complaint I have with a Strandberg or most headless is you can't hang the damn thing. Mm-hmm. And I mean, especially with a Strandberg, the way that body is, it doesn't stand up all that well either. So
yeah, it's a nightmare. Yeah.
So I wanted, some slopes, some ears on the headstock, even though it doesn't have a headstock, there's at least something there to hang it by. Yeah.
And also the standing thing. I've seen that on other headless brands. They've made it so it's at least more symmetrical so you can stand up, because that is annoying. Because when we're doing the video, we're like, I can't put it down. I can't put it on the floor. It'll fall over. Can't put it in a stand. You can't put it on the wall. You're like, well, how? You just have to play it until you die, because and you could do it. It's so good. You're like, you can't put it down anywhere.
Yeah.
Didn't old Steinbergers have a little kickstand at the back built in? You could flip out.
Like a bike, like a motorbike.
That was for your lap, Daniel.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't. But yeah, I remember when the Strandbergs first came out, Ola actually introduced a guitar stand with it. It was a flat pack design. So it was one of those flat packs where you can you crisscross it and it's basically a guitar stand. So I know that those were shipping along with the Strandbergs in the early days.
Cost, I bet now. They had to remove everything because of inflation. I've got to do a runner in a minute. Is there anything quick we can talk about before I've got a meeting? Sorry at 2.
Yeah, that's right. Just so quickly then, because we haven't really talked much we haven't gone in depth about boutique builders, but do you think there's something those big companies could learn from more boutique builders?
I think you can get a boutique guitar for between 2 and 3. Obviously, you can pay whatever you want, but you can get a boutique guitar for between 2 and 3 grand that is exactly what you'd want, and you're not going to get that from a 2 to 3 grand Fender. It'll be good, but you'll get like master build Fender quality for. Like we played my friend's one, 9 grand. You could probably get the same quality for 4.5 from a boutique builder, but it will be exactly to your. It'll be like a fitted suit, Not that I own any. I tend to make them.
I think that's more because maybe boutique builders can't justify charging more. I don't know. I feel like they should. Miss Glyn from Miss Glyn's Pickups talking about this, and I heard a dealer in Scandinavia who works indirectly with Ben from Mastertronics told him that with their current stock, anything that's like a cheap guitar under 500, they still sell. Anything that's over 3 grand, they still sell, because people that are collecting guitars and are rich will keep buying them. People that need a guitar to learn, they'll buy them. But anyone that's looking for their sort of second guitar or just another good guitar, they haven't got the money to spend that at the moment.
Especially at the moment. This is I work in the finance sector, and everyone in the middle has got no money. So it's either cheap guitars or you've got so much money it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's economics. But everything's on sale at the moment, because shops need to sell stuff, so everything's cheaper.
Yeah.
So, all right then, 2 quick questions, or quick question for both of you. If you're going to buy a new guitar, what are you looking for in that guitar?
Satin.
Yeah, a good neck is the main thing for me, because any body shape, any body type is kind of, I wouldn't say it's irrelevant, but your hand is always touching the neck. And if the frets aren't good, the back of the neck isn't nice to play, I just don't want to play it. It puts you off playing the guitar and you just don't enjoy it as much.
Completely agree. It's all in the neck.
I said this a couple weeks ago. It was first time in a long time I put my hands on some Les Pauls, and I absolutely hated it. It was so big and fat. Strandberg has ruined me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and everyone likes different size and shape necks. Some people like the baseball bat type, and that's all depending on how you are as an individual. But whatever it is, you want it to feel nice. So if it feels horrible, even if it sounded great, you wouldn't want to play it. If it feels great and it doesn't sound very good, you can change the pickups, you can change other bits on it, and as long as the neck's good and it's good.
I thought I liked the fat neck, but that might have just been because I wasn't that great at carving them at the time. I don't know.
Brilliant. I know what you mean about that. Because I got sent a Cerberus guitar, which is over there, and that's got like a combination of a Ibanez and one of the other makes. It's got a really thin neck. I was like, and it's satin, and it's so nice. So I'm going for thinner necks. But I like anything that's not soft C neck, which everyone's put on every guitar, is fine, but it's so boring. So when you feel something fat, you're like, this is so different, or thin. It's just refreshing for me.
Yeah,
I've come to realize it's not necessarily how thin it is; it's how thin the sides are.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, the edgy bits.
Yeah, you can definitely go the other way as well. I've got a Sire guitar, which is I think they released the H7 with like a 40 mil nut, and it's too cramped. I don't like playing it.
Yeah, I didn't get on with that either. But at least you figured out why.
Yeah, they re-released it again with a 43 mil nut. So I think they realised that a lot of people were like, this is a bit too tight.
I
got small hands, it might be good, but
yeah, I got sausage fingers. So that would be hard.
And some guns. The picture of you at the start, I was like, oh. It's for the sex appeal on the show, isn't it? Just wear a vest.
Yeah.
Daniel, we all need to take pictures with guns.
Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah, you need some more posing in the intro.
I've decorated mine to make up for other things.
What about fret size for both of you? We haven't sort of mentioned that. If the feel of the neck is the appeal, fret size, medium, jumbos, smaller frets.
I don't care, because when you find it's got, I can't remember what those tiny frets are called. I always think, oh no, I'm not going to like it, and you play it and you don't even notice. So I'm like, Steve feels these things I think we'll figure it out. Then 3 months later, I'll figure it out.
It's when you go between them, I think. So I've got some extra jumbo frets, which if I'm playing it, I won't even care. And if I go to something with some tall, narrow frets or something, you'd really notice the difference. But I think after 5 minutes of playing, it doesn't make any difference to you.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Yeah, no, one of the last commissions I made, he wanted jumbo frets on it, which I hadn't used before. And after sort of building that and playing with it for a bit, I kind of liked, the idea of it. And then it's like, all right, I'm going to put jumbos and everything. And then, as you said, going back to play something more standard, you get used to that, and that feels good as well.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as it's well set up, and I don't think it matters too much. You will get used to it.
I don't understand it. I in my mind, it's the poor man's scalloped fretboard, I guess. I mean, what's the point? I don't.
I love that.
Poor man's
Feels
scalloped
great,
fretboard.
Scott.
Really,
Feels
fat
really
frets,
good.
I just don't get it personally.
Yeah, I don't think it's a selling point. I'm just like, well, whatever. It's got frets. It's a bonus as long as they're not, Fender frets that are all sharp.
Well, thank you both, because I know you've got to go. Thank you both so much. Obviously, links to your YouTube and Instagrams in the description stuff. And it sounds like we've got another Strandberg type build to look forward to on the channel.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hopefully some from you as well. Try it. You'll make one and you'll be like, this is actually quite cool.
I am intrigued to do that, kind of take something that's a more standard design and make it into one. That sounds fun.
Just don't look at it too much.
Oh yeah. Right, I'm gonna have to run, sir. I need to go and think. Thank you for the invite, and I'll see you all again soon, I imagine.
Cheers.
Well,
Good
Thanks,
to have you
mate.
guys.
Like,
how do I get? There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
They were fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't know their channel, Dave was saying off air beforehand that he'd only recently come across them because of this. But, I find with podcasts, a similar thing. Some people, I can listen to their podcasts even if the content isn't something I'm necessarily that interested in, because I enjoy listening to those people talking. And I quite enjoy the two of them talking, but I'm interested in the content as well. That's the thing.
No, I'll certainly check them out afterwards. They do sound really interesting.
They've got a few interesting projects there. They did a speaker cab made out of a wine barrel with the same Pherotone emblem out in the front. So I enjoyed watching that one. Yeah, it was a good bit of fun.
I need to spend some more time on that channel.
I think it's interesting seeing the reviews though of pickups and things like that, because as I mentioned before, it's something I didn't necessarily think so much about before. I would buy maybe a pickup brand that I knew to put in the guitar because I knew people would like it. But actually, that kind of idea of trying to tell someone that these are cheaper pickups but they're better is, I think, quite important. They work better if it works better for your guitar, that's why they're there, really.
Yeah. Mark, I'm interested. We talked about the tone bleed and everything. You don't like them. Why don't you like them?
I prefer to have as much variation in the guitar as possible. And there's obviously a difference when you roll down your volume knob. It warms up the sound, and that's a feature, right? I don't consider it any kind of bug. And so I use that feature. If I need to warm something up, make things quieter. I like dynamics. And a part of dynamics is to kind of cut off some of that high-end attack. So it's just all about dynamics, I think.
So back to what I was saying about when I was first started playing bass, I was listening to music differently because I was playing bass. Since our last chat, Mark, I've been listening more and more to guitar, to some of the guitar tracks I listen to, and working out, have they just turned the volume down a bit there to change the tone? And because you were talking about Hot for Teacher by Van Halen and how Eddie did stuff like that. And obviously it was something I was aware of before, but it was interesting to hear Mark from Pherotone say the reason he likes it is when he plays live, he's not looking for a change in tone. He needs to get his volume lower when he's playing live. And he likes to do that with his volume on the guitar.
That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's so different. It still surprises me that not surprises me. I know why people buy factory guitars and why people buy Tellys and Fenders and Gibsons, etc. But it still surprises me or disappoints me that people want to change so many things about their guitar to get the sound just right for them, but they never really think about changing the look as much or the feel of it.
No.
maybe people are drawn to the things they can change. So, you know, if people haven't really played around with electronics or, you know, finishes and things, that changing a pickup or tuners or the wiring might be like an easy starting point where you can kind of try something. If it doesn't work, it's easy to change back. So possibly, yeah, maybe a lot of the more popular mods are due to the fact that more people are able to do them as a, you know, as an experimentation, as a fun kind of thing to do to your guitars.
And as far as looks are concerned, people are going after that iconicism. There's an iconic look to a Les Paul or a Strat or a Tele, and you want to kind of maintain that iconic look.
And at the same time, realistically, there's not a lot of variation in body shape.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
from our perspectives, where, you know, if you've ever tried to come up with a new design, then you can see a vast amount of nuance. But realistically, between a Strat and, you know, a Jackson, it's basically the same shape.
yeah, I guess what I was thinking is people can swap out their pickups. I a while ago made a video just showing people how to swap out your pick guard. Your that's quite easy on a Strat, things like that. And I appreciate that repainting your guitar for a lot of people is a bit too much. But like Mark had that video with the hollow flash on, and you did trial and error on it, but you made it look like it was not a complicated process to totally change your guitar into something unique. And things like that are cool. They're cool. And people might put a sticker on, but I don't see enough of people doing that, because I think people are worried about changing the guitar. Maybe they're worried about changing the tone. Maybe they're worried that they're going to damage the guitar. But you can do a lot to the body, like really knock it around, and it will still sound the same.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for. Excuse me, like unique new ways, or at least novel ways, to sort of finish a guitar that don't involve a spray booth. I don't have a spray booth. I want one. I don't have one. So I have to figure out other ways and other avenues. In fact, if you guys are interested in a spoiler, I can show you something real quick.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, go on.
Always.
So I talked about this months ago, skateboards, and how skateboards are just wood or wood maple veneers, and they're really similar to guitars. And the way that they put the graphics on the skateboard is with what's called DTF, which is direct to film transference. Uses heat and pressure to basically adhere these inks directly into the maple veneer. So I thought, well, why can't we just do that with guitars? So
Oh, wow.
So that is a DTF film, which is ink on this special film. And what I'm going to do is press this onto a tele body, so the whole body will be like a skateboard. Basically, just think of a skateboard, right? And we know that skateboards are pretty durable when it comes to like the finish on them. And so this is just another experiment. I don't have a spray booth. How can I make something cool and use existing off-the-shelf things to make the guitar kind of unique, or make the building process unique? Spoiler, that'll be like I'm months away from this, but like it'll get done.
So are you saying that on the skateboard, that's the finish? It doesn't necessarily have over the top of it a varnish or a lacquer?
I want to say no. I mean, I used to have skateboards back in the day, and I don't think there was a varnish or a sealer on it.
Right.
I think the veneer was already kind of like very smooth. I don't know what they did with the veneer, but they just press directly on there, and I think they move on. It's way too much cost to actually put a lacquer finish on a skateboard, and it's going to get ground down anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, my mind's going now. I've been trying to think of other things to do for this book I'm writing about customizing guitars that isn't just paint and types of paint. And one thing I really want to make clear is, and there are some people that do this amazingly well, just it's a canvas, basically, the guitar body, and you have artists using all different techniques on the guitar body as artworks that you can then play, because it is a guitar. Anything from things that are becoming more familiar to us all, like the acrylic pouring kind of finishes, And then something like that, where you grabbed like another a technology from another manufacturing source that's really common there and hasn't been seen here, and you're bringing it over. It's brilliant.
I'm trying some different things with me, but more perhaps traditional. I love the idea of marquetry, and on the acoustic guitar I'm building, I've got dolphins on the front. I don't know if you've seen that, but the idea is instead of sound holes, there are dolphins. Here we are. I've got me bit here. Whoopsie daisy. I don't know if you can see that. There we are. There's my sound holes, and and so these dolphins were going to have little water droplets coming out of them. But I thought round the outside of the guitar, around the edges, I'd like some purfling. And so I wanted to create a dolphin, a little tiny dolphin that sort of in a tile that will go all the way around the edge. So it's a question of making like a stick of rock. I don't know if you're all familiar with this, with that dolphin image all the way through it, and then I'll just cut little slices. But I just love trying different things to, push the bounds a bit from my sort of skill level, and just see what it's going to look like, you know.
Oh, that's exciting. I love that we've got some new things happening. Mick in the chat just said he's enjoying that, and Ray from Custom Unlimited said he's been trying something similar, Mark, to you. So it's interesting to see different things happening and people doing similar things but with different approaches, maybe. Hey, do you all know what rock is when Dave's talking about rock?
No.
I'm familiar with what you mean, the lollies.
Yeah.
So the hard-boiled lollies with the image throughout.
Yeah, I watched a video on how that's made recently. It was incredible. So
can you describe it, Daniel?
Yeah, a new thing that I've got, actually, better than describing it, if you all chat about something, I'm going to put the video on in the background while you talk. It is impossible to describe. It's one of my new things. Over lockdown, I watched acrylic pouring videos over and over because it was so relaxing and so interesting, so creative. And then not too long ago, me and the kids got into watching people making lollies and things like that, and then rock came out of that, and it's clever. I'm just going to quickly find one to show you.
I mean, basically, this is a seaside speciality. You know, when you were kids, used to go, and basically, it's a long stick, like a candy cane, that sort of thing, a candy cane. But it's got an image or some words or something that go all the way through, right from one end to the other. So, you know, if you cut it in slices, you'd end up with lots of little circles like coins with an image in. Basically, that's the. And I was really fortunate. There's a chap who's unfortunately died now, but was a marquetry expert in a place called Tunbridge, and they have a certain tree that produces a green wood, and he did this beautiful work with this green wood. But basically, he showed me how he used to build these sticks up, long sticks of different shaped woods, which he could then slice up and create tiles, which he would then use for the marquetry. And it's fascinating to watch. So
is that something that we're going to see in your series that's going up at the moment?
Yes, yeah. I'm just doing a little bit of filming because trying to work out how on earth I'm going to get a dolphin shape through the whole length of a stick has been a bit of a challenge, but I think I've got the idea. So I'm going to be doing some experiments with that.
Yeah, so with rock, they make it much bigger and then stretch it. So for people listening on the audio, you're missing this. But I've got a video on of people mixing. It's basically a really clear, sugary sweet up. So they boiled up sugar and water together, and now they're mixing the colours. And what they do is they piece it together following a square layout that they've laid out, a picture on squares, and they know each square which colour it should be, and then they pile it all up so it's a big chunky sweet, and then they're going to stretch it and make a picture from it. But anyway, this brings me sort of on to the other thing I wanted to say at the beginning, which is, as you know, we've got the podcast up as an audio, hopefully everywhere that people are getting their audios from. But I've just started uploading all of the past episodes onto Spotify as videos. So we've got just the audio from episode 50 onwards is going up. I'm not going to go back and do the audio for everything. But we have got 50 episodes prior to that, which are on YouTube, and they will shortly be on Spotify as well. I've got 15 up so far. It's not a quick process, but it's happening. So it means that if you prefer using Spotify to YouTube, you can go back and sort of catch up on them. I'm hoping within 2 weeks I've caught up, so that once we finish any live stream like this, it will go into audio and into video on Spotify as well. But we'll see how quickly I can catch up.
If only I could stretch a wood like that.
Yeah. Exactly. What sort of diameter are you talking about for what you're doing?
Oh, it's going to be really small. So I'm using 12 mil dowels effectively to help me do this. So the dolphins are going to be really, really tiny. If you imagine a purfling round the sort of a sound hole, that sort of size, it's really so. And that's the trick for me. I want to get it as small as I possibly can. Yeah. So, I mean, it could go terribly wrong. More than likely will do. But, hey, it's good fun trying.
That's one thing that's good about people that make videos like you, Dave, on YouTube, is that you see it developing, not quite in real time, but it's you put a video up before you've done the next few stages. So you see it.
You see it, yes, and if it's going to go wrong, it'll go wrong, as it does many a time in my videos.
Yeah, I'm doing a run on trying to edit loads of videos, and that includes some from 3 years ago that I recorded.
That candy video you just showed actually reminded me of another crazy idea that I had that's kind of on the back burner. I'll probably never do it. But it reminded me of so jelly beans. I don't know if you guys have jelly beans over there, but okay. So jelly beans are finished in a kind of a lacquer, and it's basically shellac, right? Which is the same stuff we use on guitars, right? Because it's edible apparently. It's some kind of edible shellac. And I went on Amazon, and you can actually find this kind of confectioner's, baker's shellac. And I always thought, and it's a huge, huge deal. I always thought, well, man, is that cheaper than woodworkers shellac? Is there like a cost difference? What if I had a video that was called a jelly bean finish? Like, I kept thinking, like, just in terms of like off the shelf products, right? That YouTube thumbnail that's kind of just like clickbait.
Edible guitar.
Right, there you go. It would be like vegan, edible, and it's basically just shellac, right? But anyway, it was an idea I had, and I just kind of got rid of it. I don't know if I'll ever do it.
Yeah.
Speaking, I just got in my head. Then I wonder if it's got a different scent as well.
As long as it's gluten free,
I mean, I don't use shellac on my guitars, but I used to use shellac when I worked for an artist for some of his molds, which were made using shellac as a sort of finishing, so that it would release from what we were putting into the molds, and it smells great. Isn't
shellac bug shit?
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Maybe I thought it was shell.
Everyone's saying all the comments are saying
honey's
bug shells.
It's an excretion, yeah.
You're talking about smells. I was speaking to Chris from Axe Wax. Axe Wax make polishes and waxes for your guitars, and I was after a new tin of his original wax, which I use, and he does it in different scents. So the one I've been using is his original smell, which was like a bubblegum kind of smell, and it's really strong. I quite like it, but I guess everyone's got different tastes. But he makes it in different smells, and we got on to talking about the fact that he sent me a coffee one, but he'd say he could basically do most smells if he can get the scent right, and then experiment with getting the kind of ratios and put most smells in. And I was thinking of, for my relic guitars, putting some sort of cigarettes, tobacco smell on wax.
Or Daniel, don't do it. My vintage 75 Strat smells like nicotine, and it's not. I mean, it smells like mojo, but it's not something you really want.
No, it's like when you buy from eBay and it says from a non-smoking house.
You know, like more than a week ago, I just once in a while, I don't necessarily even know where the hell it is. I just get a whiff of cigarette smoke, and then it's stuck with me for days. And this just lingered, and then it dawned on me. Somebody broke into my car last week, and I wonder if they were smoking when they did it. And every time I get in the car, I get another blast of it. Don't do that. Pipe, tobacco, maybe cigar.
On the guitar smells there, Daniel. I was just going to say, when you're talking about the smells from the guitars, so the video that I did where I just showed the pickup winder and winding some pickups, when I wax potted them, my wife and daughter used to do candle making, so they got all the scents they put in the candle making. So when I melted the wax, as part of the video, it's like, I'll put a bit of lemon. I think it was vanilla. I put vanilla sort of flavor in it. So I've actually got a set of pickups that do smell like vanilla. In one of my guitars. So it was kind of a spur of the moment. I'll just put a bit of smell in there as well as the wax. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. I've got the Alchemy pickups. Jack from Alchemy, he also uses a scented wax. I don't know if it's deliberate, but it's very recognisably his pickups when you get them. So, Aaron, are you thinking now that you're going to be making your own pickups for all your guitars?
I've done a few. I've done the Middle Earth guitar. I wound those single coils, and I've done a few P90s as well. And that sort of started just like all this stuff we do on YouTube. It was like, well, if I can do it myself, I'm going to try. And we're sort of surprised how sort of clear and clean and how well it worked. I kind of had visions of the first pickup that I wound. Just I kind of thought if it makes a noise and if it hisses and crackles and has got all this background stuff, I'll be happy as long as it's making a sound. But I was quite surprised with how good it, they basically sound like any other pickup that I've got. So moving forward, I'm gonna just play around a bit more with that guitar that I showed a few podcasts ago. Where I'm putting all the different switching options in and, a few circuits that I can kind of flick between. I'm going to have a go at just winding, because that's the idea. I want to be able to change pickups in and out and just get different sounds. And then if and when I do get commissions, I can kind of set up this guitar as someone might like it. So I think for that, rather than having to buy a whole heap of different pickups to put in and out, I'm going to have a go at winding a few different styles just to see, to play and experiment. And then certainly if people, if I do guitars for people, if they want me to wind a few pickups and see how we go, then I'd be more than happy to do that.
Mick's asking if you're taking orders yet.
Only for Mick. I might need some test guitars to send them off to get some second opinions. But it's he might be lucky then.
Hey Dave, we've lost your picture. Is your sound still there?
I'm here. My battery went flat. Hang on. Hopefully he'll come back again.
Dave said this. He said that got a new setup and he's using his camera, but the battery might run out.
That's right. It might come back in a minute. It's not ideal. Here we are. I'm back.
Here we are.
I'm going to invest in a proper webcam. I think that's probably what I need.
So just getting back to guitar smells, I think this is an interesting topic, by the way. the smells of guitars, because no one smells their guitars. I think more people should. But one of my favorite guitar polishes is the Music Nomad guitar polish, because it's the only one that smells like strawberries. Like, it smells like strawberries, and you put it on your guitar and your guitar smells like strawberries. It's wonderful. And I ran out of it. I never bought it again, but now that I'm thinking about smells again, I think I am.
Yeah,
sorry, I love strawberries, but I just can't stand the smell.
It's funny because if I put, I'm aware that when I'm polishing a guitar, it's for someone else. Because I sent a guitar to someone with that bubblegum smell, and they were like, "What's going on? It smells a bit weird." I was like, "Oh, don't worry, it's just the wax I put on. The smell will fade." But yeah, you got to get it right.
I smell my guitars all the time, but that's mostly just to see if the lacquer's finally cured.
Yeah, we had an episode where we were talking about the smells of wood, and when we work with them, and does the smell make a difference to how we work? Do we enjoy it more? Maybe the process of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about just to let everyone know, so next week we've got Eddie, who's I think in the chat, or he was earlier, from Electric Lady Guitars on. Loads to talk about with him, about his processes and things. I'm particularly interested because at the moment I'm thinking about it in relation to some things I'm doing. The way he keeps records of what he's building and how he makes them. Because I don't think we necessarily talk about how we keep track of what we're doing and how we can then revisit what we're doing in the future. If we're like, oh, what did I do on this guitar? What did I do on that guitar? And he seems very thorough on that. And then we've got Bobby Jarvis Jr., the teacher, and also does reviews, but professional player. So good to have that sort of point of view. Paul from Minehouse Studios is the last one of this month. But then, I haven't put them up yet. Menno, who's in the chat, is going to come on. We've got Cade from Ravencroft Guitars and Ray Baggett are going to come back on together because they've both just done a course at Crimson. So we get them on to talk. But I think that's probably not going to happen until November, which is when Cade is next free. So I've got some people to approach, and I'll be doing that. Great. I'm enjoying though hearing all our plans. Menno thinks now I'm thinking crazy. Oh, maybe I've missed a bit back. Oh, mixing shellac with cinnamon.
Oh, right.
I like the idea of bubblegum. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a strong flavour. I've been using a Nitolap one, which definitely is vanilla, and that is more, it's a vanilla smell. It's vanilla flavour.
I have
be that offensive.
For some time, I've wanted to do a bubblegum pink quilted maple build, and it would be great if it actually smelled like bubblegum.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, I think you can get the Axe Wax stuff in the US.
Yeah, I just hadn't thought about
it. Yeah.
Maybe that's going to be the new thing. Maybe that's
a unique selling point. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check all the different fragrances that are in the garage for the candle wax smells. I think there's quite a stash in there, so it might keep me going for a while.
Is it possible to make the same pickup more than once and just give it a different scent and do a test? I mean, someone's going to say they can hear the difference, I'm sure.
If you play hard enough and long enough, will it warm up a little bit and, let off some extra scent?
Yeah.
Do they have active pickups for that to work? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Right, so listen, before we go, just a reminder that if you're listening on audio, it is new to us, but we have got 50 episodes that we did prior to this on YouTube, and there's links, as always, in the description, and links to the 5 of us and to Steve and Mark that you had on earlier. I also just want to quickly thank our members who has, monthly payments, help support this show and everything that we're doing. We've got Owen Kelly, who's in the chat, Eddie from Electric Lady Guitars, Arran from Adair Guitars, BB Guitars, Brad's in the chat, Simon was in the chat earlier, Simon Chapman, Glyn from Mr. Glyn's Pickups, Dave, thank you Dave Dickens, and Ray from Custom Unlimited. And also, you know, buying the shirts is brilliant. Buying the shirts is now possible, as Brad has confirmed, in Australia. I think that it's clear when you're buying the Australian ones, but at the moment, there's 2 different shops in my YouTube descriptions. But I put it, in the YouTube thumbnails, but I put it in the description to the Australian stocking shop, but they ship worldwide, and I'm slowly changing everything over there. Although annoyingly, as has been the case, I keep changing the people every couple of years that I'm using to make the merch with for various reasons. So this time it's because they ship to Australia. Previously it was because they could let me put it on YouTube, and the company I was using before that wouldn't let me put it on YouTube. Now I've noticed with the podcasts, the audio podcasts, there's a way of linking through certain platforms to merchandise in there, but that's a whole different company. So I'm not going to do that one.
Oh dear.
That one you can't keep track. And it is a pain just uploading more and more layouts and designs. Great.
Right.
So yeah, do go over and check out Pherotone. At least follow them on Instagram and say you saw them on here or listen to them. That'd be great. And until next time, everyone, happy strumming.
Bye-bye, everybody.
See you
Cheers. Thank you
guys.
very much. See you then.
The Guitar Builders Collective is a group of like-minded people from all around the world at different stages of their guitar building journey. You can join us over on our forum to seek advice or share tips on guitar building processes, materials and tools, or just to share your builds. On YouTube, we have a regular podcast of guitar building chat where you can join the live stream or watch back on past episodes. Our Instagram page shares posts of members' builds and links you direct to their accounts. And for those of you on Facebook, we've got a private group that you can join, share and chat along with. The Guitar Builders Collective is a welcome and open space for all, so do pop by and say hi.